Hello, and welcome to your off-campus orientation session. Before we begin, we have a few people that would like to welcome you to the role of commuter student, including Dr. Tim Pearson, Vice President for Student Affairs, and Mayor David Whitus from the town of Farmville. Enjoy.
Well, welcome. I'm Tim Pearson, Vice President for Student Affairs at Longwood, and I did want to welcome you to this off-campus orientation. And I know this is an exciting time for you to even, make your plans already for next year and look into what the next phase of your Longwood career is going to be. Our session this morning is really intended, or this afternoon or this evening, whatever time you're going to be watching this, is really to help you make a successful transition to living in Farmville. Our mission, as you've heard so many times, is to develop citizen leaders. And when you think about what that is and what that means for you in the next phase of where you are, it's going to take on an important role with your relationship with the town. We have concurrent jurisdiction with our police department, and we also have a very close relationship with the town of Farmville, and you'll see that and you'll hear from some of those officials today. But first, I did want to thank you for your time on campus and living in our campus managed housing or in residence halls, and hope that you have learned some things that will really help you in your next transition to off-campus. But I would say this, all the resources still at Longwood are available to you, and you're going to hear a lot about those today. And we just know that you will carry that Longwood value and the kind of the spirit of Kai into your relationship with your neighbors, with the town officials, and continue that with Longwood. So we hope that this is helpful for you and will give you a good sense of what that next step will be for you and how we will be here to support you. Your landlords certainly are here to support you with that, and we all are. Again, I look forward to continuing our relationship and seeing you grow in this next exciting phase of your life. For us, pay attention to these resources today. You can contact any one of us at any time. You'll see my contact up here on the screen, and most of you know my email that I keep in front of you most of the time. So again, my greetings from Tim Pearson, the Vice President for Student Affairs, and enjoy. Thanks.
Welcome to Farmville. I'm David Whitus, Mayor and a Longwood graduate. We are pleased that you will be a part of our community. Farmville and Longwood University enjoy a great partnership. The university is the central focus of our town. We hope that you will enjoy all that Farmville has to offer, from our downtown to our shops, High Bridge Trail, and many other treasures and events that you will find in Farmville. We think you will find Farmville a warm and welcoming community. We hope you bring your parents and your friends and treat them to a taste of Farmville. We welcome your comments and concerns during your stay here. Our town manager, chief of police, and other town officials are always available to assist you. Farmville is a great place to live, to work, and to play, but it's also a great place to get your education. So welcome and study hard.
We hope you enjoyed your welcome from Dr. Tim Pearson and Mayor Whitus. We have a few learning outcomes that we hope you'll get from watching this video today. First, we're going to want you to understand what it means to be a commuter student. We're also going to want you to know the expectations the university and the town have of you, and the rights and responsibilities that come with living off campus. We'll also want you to know that you have quite a few services provided to you, both from Longwood and the town. We also want to make sure you understand your lease signing rights and what it means to be a tenant, and you'll hear more about that through Virginia Legal Aid later. We also want to make sure you know what to do if you have any problems or concerns with your landlord. And finally, we want to make sure you're familiar with all the resources that the town has to offer. So what does it mean to be a commuter student? First and foremost, you're going to have increased responsibilities. For most of you, you're used to paying room and board in one lump sum in the fall and spring semesters. Now, for many of you, you'll be having a monthly rent payment in addition to utilities, maybe having pets off campus, and so on. So you'll see some changes in what you've been used to. In addition, You'll also notice that budgeting and money management will be a little bit different due to those monthly bills you're responsible for. You also might have some different issues than you had as a residential student. Remember, when you lived on campus with us, you had an opportunity to use your RA and your REC as resources. Off campus, you'll still have resources. However, you are going to have to work through your problems on your own, as you've signed a lease to live with your roommates. Finally, you might need to work a little bit harder to stay involved on campus, depending on how far away you live and what your schedule is. Let's talk about some services that Residential and Commuter Life and the RCL Advisory Board can provide for you. First and foremost, we have a commuter lounge located in the Langford Student Union that's available to every commuter student. In the lounge, we have wireless internet access, computers, lockers, a full kitchen, comfortable couches, and quite a few other resources for our students. The lounge is open starting at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday through midnight on the weekends, through midnight on weekdays, and on the weekends it opens at 1 p.m. So if you're here on campus as a commuter student, that's a new resource that you have that was not available to you prior. In addition, we do also offer some emergency vehicle assistance if you run into any troubles with your car as you're commuting to and from campus. Our commuter lounge staff members are there to help you as well. We also provide for you all a different opportunity to stay connected and engaged through our weekly commuter newsletter. Please expect to see that in your inbox every week throughout the semester to give you valuable tips and information just for our commuter students. Finally, we have off-campus professional staff dedicated to helping you all as commuter students. If you have any questions, stop by the commuter lounge or the RCL office so we can connect you with the right resource. We have an umbrella organization called the RCL Advisory Board that programs for both residential and commuter students. The goal of the Advisory Board is to be representative of our entire student body here at Longwood. In particular, we try to represent commuter needs through SGA. So you will see that as a new commuter student, you will now be invited to some special commuter-only events, including in November, our Commuter Thanksgiving Luncheon, which is a full-fledged commuter Thanksgiving meal just for you, with turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, dessert, and all the fixings. In addition, you will also see that the first few days of class, we have a commuter welcome wagon. This is an opportunity for you all to be welcomed back to campus. You'll receive a goodie bag with information, tips, tricks, pens, pencils, everything you'll need to start the semester off right. RCL Advisory Board is also always looking for new members. Just a few years ago, we had one of the commuter students serve as president of the Advisory Board. We're always looking for commuter students to make sure that your voice is heard. If you're interested in joining Advisory Board, you can contact the RCL office, and we'll make sure you know when our meetings are so you can voice any concerns, questions, or become an active member of the board. For a vast majority of our students who move off campus and live in town, you are good neighbors, and we thank you for that, because that's critical in our relationship that Longwood has with the town. We do have a few extra tips for you to make sure that living off campus is successful and is everything you expected. First, we ask you to demonstrate an interest in your neighbors. Get to know them and go over and say hello. Introduce yourself. Whether you're living in a commuting setting or in a house, an apartment, or whether you're in a more traditional apartment-style setting, it's still a good idea to get to know who your neighbors are and any expectations you all might have of each other. We also ask that you try to be friendly and approachable. This would mean making eye contact, smiling, saying hello, or talking to your neighbor if there's any concerns before they reach a level that's unmanageable. We also ask that you have open communication at all times with your neighbors. That includes going over to let them know in advance if you're having a gathering of people, or to follow up with them if you're concerned that perhaps maybe there are too many people parked on the street, or maybe your neighbor is upset. Having that communication is really helpful and something that our residents in the town of Farmville are always looking for from everyone, and especially from our students. Finally, we're going to ask that you keep your apartment, house, or your property clean. Try not to have any cups in the yard or other things that would take away from the pride of where you live. We also want to be sure that you're being considerate. There are quite a few noise ordinances in the town, and sometimes some of our students might not understand that maybe their noise level is acceptable for them, but maybe our neighbors in town don't find it acceptable. So try to be considerate and watch those noise levels, especially when you're having gatherings. We're going to ask that you take responsibility for your guests. Even if you do all the above steps and you work with your neighbors and you're considerate, it's quite possible that your guests might not have the same feelings. So please do your best to make sure that all of your guests that come over are respecting your neighbors and respecting your property, and everything you've done to keep up where you're leasing for that year. Finally, for those of you who've moved off campus and have pets, please make sure you're taking care of your pets. That would include if you have a dog, walking it regularly and picking up behind it, and for any other animals you have, making sure that they're not destroying the inside or outside of the property. For those of you that have a designated parking area, please make sure you park in that designated spot. As Chief Beach will talk about, you'll notice that there are different opportunities for parking depending on where you live off campus. You're going to want to make sure you follow those parking regulations so you don't get tickets, and also so you don't upset town officials, your neighbors, or just Longwood in general by not parking in your designated spot. If you have any questions about being a commuter student in general, you can always contact RCL. Contact information is on the screen. We're really excited to have you moving off campus, living in the town of Farmville, and experiencing all it has to offer.
Hello, I'm Chief Bob Beach, Chief of Police of the Longwood Police Department, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to take a look at this information. It's going to be important to you as you move into the next season of your life and take on living off on your own, off campus. I hope it'll be a very successful time for you, but there are some things that you should consider. The Longwood Police Department will still be a major form of contact for you. What the LUPD and the FPD want you to know is that both of us, our relationships together, tie us together and make us seamless. If you have an issue, you have a concern, reaching out to either one of our organizations will provide you with the appropriate resources that you need. The university will be notified of anything that you notify the town with, and if you're out in the town and you notify us, of course, we will be also contacting the town of Farmville Police Department. The Longwood Police Department can provide you with a myriad of resources. Crime prevention issues. We'll be more than happy to come and talk to you about the safety and security of your new home and where you're living. Talk to you about crime prevention methods. We have a community policing outreach and our patrol operations. You'll see our cars and our officers out in your neighborhood and your community. We will be working with the town of Farmville and doing criminal investigations if you find yourself subject to some sort of a criminal event. Our threat assessment team, all of those things are still functioning and available to you. All you have to do is reach out to us and let us know of your concern. Parking is a big issue. Once you move off campus and you're living out in the town, obviously the town has certain parking requirements. We still have our parking requirements too, and you would need a commuter parking pass. All of those parking questions can be answered by contacting Ms. Laura Rice, the number you see there on the screen. She'll be more than happy to discuss it with you. We have a booklet that helps you, got most of the frequently asked questions in it, so you can take that and sort through it. But any other questions that pop up, you can talk to her and deal with. Just remember this: if you intend to come to campus and park on campus, you must have a parking decal, an appropriate parking decal. Moving off campus, that would translate to one being a commuter pass. Okay, so just make sure that you've got that squared away once you get settled and off campus. The town of Farmville Police Department are looking forward to making this experience for you an educational part of your life, as well as just a new experience in life. And our concurrent jurisdiction, our memorandum of understanding between the LUPD and the FPD is tied together so that this can be the most successful operation for you as you take this new adventure. We will be working together. If you need to understand that your citizen responsibility to the community is just as strong as it is to the Longwood University, and maintaining that responsibility, holding people accountable and making sure that those responsibilities are maintained are something that's going to be a joint effort by both the Farmville Police Department and the Longwood Police Department. Again, parking issues. Make sure that you understand what the parking responsibilities you have in your off-campus residence. They may require passes, they may be assigned spots. Make sure you meet your neighbors. Make sure you get out and meet your neighbors, because not everybody that lives there is going to be another student. There are longtime residents living in the communities that will be more than happy to meet with you, talk with you, help you with various issues. But remember, respect for others is what's critical here. So get out and meet your neighbors. The town of Farmville has neighborhood watch and security operations and programs going on in various communities. If you have the ability and you're willing to, get involved in those activities. Be aware of your surroundings when you're traveling to and from. Town of Farmville is a very safe community in relations to the state as a whole or even the nation. We have a very low crime rate here, but personal responsibility for personal safety is still everybody's responsibility. So just remember that. Be aware. Report suspicious activity to the police department as soon as you see it. If you see something, say something. Our contact information, there it is on the screen. That 2091 number that we've been talking to you about for years is that appropriate number to call anytime, 24 hours a day, to reach the Longwood Police Department. Farmville Police Department, that 392-9259. Again, you should have those programmed in your mobile phone. 911 obviously is always in case of emergency. If you see something or you have an emergency, dial 911. Again, thank you very, very much for taking the time to view this. We look forward to your next period of life, living off campus. Enjoy that. Encourage you to have a safe and happy time as you move through the rest of your college career. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jen Fraley. I'm the Director of Student Conduct and Integrity at Longwood University, and I also serve as the University Title IX Coordinator. I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about the responsibilities and rights that you have as a Longwood University student. You are a Longwood student regardless of where you live, which means you are responsible for your behavior both on and off campus. Please remember that if you choose to violate the law and the Longwood University standards, you will be held accountable for that behavior. You need to remember that you will be dealing with two different systems. The town determines if your behavior is acceptable in the community at large, and Longwood determines if your behavior is acceptable in the Longwood community. That means that you could be dealing with both the criminal system and the student conduct system. Please remember that we have a cooperative agreement with the town of Farmville, and therefore my office receives reports from both Farmville Police and Longwood University Police. You need to remember that when we receive police reports from both the town of Farmville and from Longwood University Police, we adjudicate those different charges and hold you accountable for that behavior. So please don't be surprised if you are navigating both a student conduct system and a criminal system. We can help you navigate both of those systems and refer you to the criminal system and resources that the criminal system has so that you can navigate that system as well. You also need to remember that you have rights through the student conduct system. Please remember that you can choose to file charges through the student conduct system against a fellow student due to their behavior both on and off campus. My office can help you do that. In terms of resources from my office, we are the central clearinghouse for filing those complaints that I mentioned about charges through the student conduct system. We can also provide to you information about rights for students as they apply to disciplinary hearings. We can walk you through your disciplinary hearings for the student conduct system and help prepare you for those hearings. In addition, my office offers some opportunities to get involved in both the conduct and the honor boards. The conduct and honor boards for Longwood University are our primary source of disciplinary hearings. Students who are interested in getting involved in the conduct and honor boards can contact my office or contact the conduct and honor board chairs for more information. In the spring each year, the Student Government Association holds elections for those conduct and honor board positions, and we would really like you to become involved in that process so that you are involved in holding your peers accountable for their behavior. Additionally, I'd like to talk to you just for a second about Title IX reporting and resources through my office. As the University Title IX coordinator, my office serves as the clearinghouse for all sexual misconduct and gender-based misconduct reporting and resources. Please know that both on and off-campus students, regardless of where you live, have rights and responsibilities in terms of Title IX, and we can provide accommodations and interim measures as well as options for filing complaints, holding people accountable, and protecting students. Thank you so much for listening to my short presentation. Please know that we have a variety of resources in my office, and there are several people that can help you. I serve as the director and the Title IX coordinator. We also have an assistant director in my office, Sarah Loth, as well as an administrative assistant, Mrs. Angela Whitaker. We are all available to help you in Lancaster G26. Our phone number is 434-395-2490.
There are a few key people you're going to want to get to know as you live here in Farmville. The first is Mr. Jerry Spates, our town manager. We also have Mr. Whitus, our mayor, who you heard from earlier. You'll also soon hear from Kim Thompson, our property inspector for the town of Farmville. And finally, Mr. Philip Moore, our building inspector. Let's get started with what Mr. Moore, our building inspector, would want you to know about living in the town. Philip Moore is our building inspector, and he tries to let our students know what to look for in building structures and who to contact if you have any concerns with your rental property after you've spoken with your landlord. He also takes care of building codes and what to look for. When you live off campus, there are a few things you should consider. Similar to when you lived on campus, whether on main campus or in one of our Longwood managed apartment communities, you had to fill out an RCR when you moved in. That RCR, or room condition report, explained the condition of the property when you moved in, and we also compared that when you moved out. You're going to want to do a similar thing with your landlord off campus. You're also going to want to pay attention to all of the things listed on your screen. The exterior of where you're living, all the appearances. You're going to want to look at the appliances, the walking surfaces to make sure they are level. You're going to want to make sure your front door shuts and locks, as well as checking all your windows and all of your walls and ceilings for any cracks. You're also going to want to make sure that there's no areas weak and rotted from water damage or from mold or other sources. Finally, when you're going inside, you're going to want to look at the interior and the exterior stairs to make sure they're safe and have appropriate treading. You're going to want to check any cabinets and under the sink to make sure there's no mold growing. You might also check the bathrooms to make sure they're compliant and ensure all outlets are appropriate, including the special outlets that should be in the kitchens and bathrooms for upgraded conditions in town. Finally, you're going to want to check your heating. If you see black or dark areas around the vents, that needs to be handled by your landlord prior to moving in. Once you move in, if you didn't necessarily see any of these issues and you start to notice them, you should immediately contact your landlord so they can address any concerns. The best way to contact your landlord would be through writing and to continue to work with them. If you run into any issues, you can contact the RCL office so we can further help you. If you're having some concerns and you're not sure what to do about your building, you can follow up further with Philip Moore, our building town inspector. His information can be found on the screen.
Hello, my name is Kim Thompson, and I take care of property code enforcement for the town of Farmville. What exactly does that include? I will explain in the next few slides. You will be a town citizen this fall, and we are very happy to have you. As a resident of Farmville, there are a few ordinances we would like for you to be aware of. First of all, your grass needs to be cut regularly. No one likes to live next to a yard like this, and I'm sure you will feel the same way about your neighbors' yards. If you run into a problem and your lawnmower breaks down or some other situation, please do not hesitate to call my office. I can help you find someone affordable to help keep your yard cut. Also, we ask that you keep your yard neat and tidy. If you have guests over, please make sure you clean up after them. You are ultimately responsible for who visits your home. Trash and household debris, such as pictured here, cannot be placed on the curb for pickup. You are responsible for disposing of such items at the landfill. If you aren't able to do this, the town's Public Works Department can rent you a dump truck for a nominal fee, plus the landfill charges. We will park the truck at your residence, you load the truck, and then we will haul it away. The town does have 2 cleanup days each year, once in April and once in October, where you can dispose of such items for free. Watch the Farmville Herald or the Wednesday Wire for announcements of the dates for cleanup days. Household furniture and appliances cannot be kept outside of your residence. No couches on the porch or in the yard, mattresses on the roof, etc. If you want to enjoy the outdoors, invest in some nice lawn furniture. Unless you live in one of the apartment communities, you will notice you have a green roll-out garbage receptacle. Your trash is picked up once a week. The day depends on where you live. We do have a few regulations for roll-out pickup. All garbage must be bagged before being placed in the roll-out container. All garbage must be placed inside the roll-out container. No extra can be stacked outside of the container. If you continually have more than the roll-out can hold, then you will need to speak to your landlord about purchasing an additional container from Public Works. The container must also be on the curb by 7 a.m. on the day of collection. It must be removed by 12 o'clock midnight of that same day. Containers cannot be left on the curb. They must be stored either behind or beside of your residence. Please remember, we are here for you. If you run into any problems, feel free to call. We have a website, which is www.farmvilleva.com. Everything I've discussed today is in our services and information booklet, which can be found on our site. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope you have a great experience living off campus.
Hello, my name is Pam Fortune, and I'm an attorney with Virginia Legal Aid Society, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about lease signing today. First of all, your lease. Always read your lease before signing it. Your lease is the most important document that you will have to deal with in your landlord-tenant situation. It's always, always best to get it in writing. Some landlords will try to tell you, well, you don't need a written lease, and you don't. However, a written lease protects you as well as the landlord in case of a dispute. The Virginia Residential Landlord-Tenant Act. Okay, you should try to get your landlord to say that that applies in your situation. Most of the time it will with most apartment buildings, etc. And the landlord only needs to own 2 residential units that they rent out to be covered. But it's best to have that in your lease because it does provide some small additional protections for you. And you can ask to have that inserted in your lease. I did that with my landlord when I was renting. Okay, always ask questions. Ask questions about everything that you see in your lease and just anything that occurs to you that might be a problem or that you don't understand. Always ask questions, and then if you have any concerns about anything, get it in writing. Always get it in writing. If that's the one thing that I can impress upon you the most, always get everything in writing because it really protects you in the long run. Okay, now tenant responsibilities. Okay, you must pay your rent each month. Okay? Don't just pay it once and then, wait a couple of months before you try to pay it again. You can't do that. The law does allow you to prepay your rent if you would like. That is a good idea for those who feel like they're a little loose with their money and might spend it too quickly or something. Maybe that would help them out to, make sure that the rent is paid each month. But also, for those who don't have that issue, it might be best to try to pay it each month or get it automatically deducted from your account if you'd like to do that. Because that will be a way of kind of holding the landlord to doing what they're supposed to do. You cannot withhold rent when your landlord doesn't do the things that they're supposed to do, but it will keep them on their toes so they respond to your concerns more quickly, right? Okay, now you must abide by all lease terms. And that means those pesky little lease terms that say, okay, well, you must be quiet and respect your neighbors. If you don't, the little old lady in the apartment next to you might be calling the police and you might get a little visit. So abide by all of your lease terms. So your landlord doesn't want to terminate your lease, and that would not be nice in the middle of a semester, now would it? Okay, the tenants always have a duty to maintain the premises. That means, if your commode is overflowing, call the landlord immediately, and don't just wait around if you have a leaky faucet or something like that and say, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow, it's just a little drip. That little drip could turn into mold eventually or something else and damage the premises. So just, and get it in writing if you can too. Now, here's one that you might not be aware of. Many students are not. I wasn't when I was a student. You are responsible for the conduct of your guest. Yes, you are. So if you have a party and somebody punches a hole in the wall, guess who's got to pay for that? Okay? So always be careful about who you invite to your apartment, and always, try to get them to be quiet and not to tear the place up, because you'll be paying for it. Okay, next is renter's insurance. When I first moved in, I wasn't aware of how important renter's insurance was. But when I first became a legal aid attorney, one of my first cases involved a family who did not have renter's insurance and their apartment burned down. And guess what? The landlord is not responsible for getting renter's insurance for you and your belongings. So you have to pay for everything from anew. The policies are usually pretty reasonable. You can get them for a little over $100 for a year, which isn't a terrible deal. So talk to your parents about it if you don't have the money yourself. It is a lot cheaper than having to replace everything you own if something bad happens, a flood or a fire. Okay? Moving on. Repairs. These are responsibilities of your landlord, okay? Your landlord must keep the place in a fit and habitable condition, right? So that means, for instance, I just had a case about this recently. They cannot just provide you with a small propane heater to heat the entire place. It has to be something that is vented to the outside so it is safe. And they have to keep the place fit and habitable, keep running water and the like. They must maintain the utilities and appliances, and you have a duty to do the same, of course. Your landlord can give you a notice if you are not complying with any of the lease terms, not just about habitability, but about making too much noise. They can give you what's called a 21-30-day notice, that you must make those repairs or do what you were told to do, which is a breach. You must stop that breach activity within 21 days, or your lease will be terminated in 30 days. And who wants to move in the middle of the semester, right? So take that seriously. And if you do get a notice like that, make sure that you comply with whatever the landlord has requested, as long as, of course, it's obviously reasonable and legal. Okay, substitute housing. If your landlord does not supply an essential service, for instance, heat in winter, they can be required to get substitute housing for you. So always ask for that. And if they don't, which sometimes they do not, you can ask to be compensated if you have to stay at a hotel or something like that. Rent escrow. Now, this is something that you can probably do on your own, or you can seek the advice of an attorney if you need to. It is a method of getting your landlord to comply with the law. What you would do is you would give the proper notice to your landlord of whatever they have done wrong. You didn't give, the water is out, I have no hot water, or I have no heat, etc. And you can tell your landlord that they have a certain number of days to make those repairs. If they do not, you can go to court and file what's called a rent escrow action. So you're asking the court to give you relief by either terminating the lease if you just say, I'm tired of dealing with this landlord who doesn't do what he says he's going to do. Or you can say, Judge, Your Honor, I would like you to make him do what he's supposed to do. Make him give me the hot water that I need. Okay? But this must be a threat to health. You can't do, as I had one caller ask me, well, they won't paint the walls pink, and I want them pink. I hate this beige color. Well, I'm sorry, you're kind of stuck with the beige color because that's not a threat to health or safety. But if it is a threat to health or safety, rent escrow is a good option for you. Okay. Eviction. Your landlord or you can usually give a notice to terminate your lease within 90 days if it's a yearly lease, or 30 days if it's a month-to-month or a shorter term. But your lease could state a different time period. Always look at your lease. If you want a longer time for notice to be given, then you need to ask for it. And if you don't want that, then you can always ask for that to change. Because those rules mainly apply if the notice period is not inserted in the lease. Whatever is inserted in the lease is what the courts will look at, and that's what applies to your situation. Okay? 5-day pay or quit notice. Your landlord, if you do not pay your rent within, I think it's 7 days of its due date, can give you what's called a 5-day pay or quit notice. What this means is that you have 5 days to pay your rent to him, or they will then take you to court. They can, at least. And they usually do. And that means they can take you to court on an unlawful detainer and try to evict you. So always take it seriously, your lease obligations. As I said, you could set up something with an automatic pay each month if you want, or something of that nature. But always take your requirements of paying your rent very seriously. That's the most common reason people are evicted. 21 30-day notice, your landlord, as I told you, can give you that, and you can give them that same notice if they don't make repairs. It's a similar thing. It goes the same way. Your landlord cannot cut off utilities. He cannot lock you out or change the keys, change the locks, or withhold your possessions just in order to get you to pay the rent. You he must always follow the law, which means he has to go to court and get an unlawful detainer and talk to the judge about it, which gives you the chance to present any defenses you have at that point too. And hopefully, if you do have defenses, you will have put that in writing to the landlord and kept a copy for yourself. Okay? Unlawful detainer. That is the process, the legal process that is taken in court in order to evict a tenant. And that is the only way that a landlord is supposed to evict a tenant. They can't just lock them out and say, you're evicted. That's not legal. They do have to take you to court, and you do have to get your day in court. Okay, writ of possession. If the landlord is successful, you didn't pay your rent, or you still kept loud noises and loud parties, and you breached your lease, and they don't like that, and they convince the judge that you should be evicted, what will happen is a writ of possession will be issued. If you do not show up for court on the date of the unlawful detainer, then it can be issued immediately, which means that with the writ of possession, a sheriff will come out to your house and tell you that within 72 hours or 3 days, they will come back and remove your possessions and put them in the street, folks. Not nice, is it? Okay, so if you go to court, however, you will then get 10 extra days. They will give you the 10 days to appeal it before that will happen. So it's always good to go to court, even if it's because you didn't pay the rent and you can't come up with it. Go to court and you get some more time before you have to move your things. But hopefully you won't get to that point, right? Of course, you're too smart for that. Okay, security deposits. A maximum of 2 months' rent can be required for security deposits. It must be returned after 45 days of the termination of the tenancy, or 45 days of you moving out. Okay, and the landlord, but the important thing here to remember is you need to give your landlord your new address. Without the new address, your landlord does not have a little crystal ball to figure out where you've moved to, and you might not get that security deposit back. So do be sure you give them notice of your new address in writing so you can prove that if you don't get the security deposit back and you have to sue them in court to get it. Okay? Your landlord can deduct from the security deposit damages, with the exception of wear and tear. For instance, if there's a carpet and that carpet has been there for 5 years and it's got some scuff marks on it, your landlord can't say they have to buy a new carpet. However, if you've ripped that carpet to shreds by yourself or your guest actions, then your landlord could deduct charges for replacing that carpet. Walk-through inspections. Okay, now at the beginning of the tenancy, just before you move in, before you decide whether you want to stay there, you should walk through with your landlord and do an inspection, right? And note down any problems that you see in writing. The reason for that is because you should also do a walkthrough inspection when you leave. So everybody's on the same page and you know what charges your landlord is looking at deducting from you, and you can say, wait a minute, that window was broken before I came here and I asked you to repair it and you didn't fix that window screen or whatever, okay? So always do that and take photos, and also always return the key, because without returning the key they might charge you for changing the locks. Okay? Moving on. To recap here, before you sign a lease, meet with your landlord in person. Look the place over. Don't just look at the outside and say, oh, this looks cool, or I know Joe's living here, so I think I want to. No. Look it over carefully and look your apartment over very carefully. Walk through it, write down any problems you observe in writing, keep a copy for yourself, and send it to the landlord. All right? A lot of writing you got to do, but it's necessary to protect you in the long run, I assure you. When you don't, that's when I see the most problems. Okay, any repairs you see that need to be made, like a window screen that's missing or a drippy faucet or something, have the landlord commit to repairing that problem in writing, okay? In writing is essential because your landlord can say, they never told me anything about that, okay? So let's just get it put in writing. And if your landlord will not put it in writing, you know that you should walk away from that deal now, because that is not an upfront person. Okay? But most of them will. I find that most of the landlords around here are very good, but it only takes one or two to give you a bad experience. So, always protect yourself. Okay, review parking allocations with the landlord. Go over that with the landlord and make sure everyone's clear where you're supposed to park so you don't get into a fight with your neighbor about who parks where. Okay? Read over your lease entirely. Okay? Read it over and make sure you understand everything. Review it with your parents. Call an attorney if you need to get everything clarified. Okay? And make sure you understand it before you sign it, because this is a legal document, folks. And that means that it can be held against you as well as the landlord. And if it says that you're responsible for something that you don't believe you should be responsible for, then you want to take care of that before you sign the lease and mark through the language or make corrections as needed, okay? I used to do that quite a bit myself before I bought my house. All right? Now, problems with your landlord, okay? What should you do? What do you do? Okay, read and reread your lease. Why? Because it is the most important document that concerns your tenancy. And everything is supposed to be spelled out there, or as much as possible, right? Document your concerns. Put it in writing. And if you do send an email, print out a copy and keep it, and make sure that it was received and not bounced back. I prefer giving the notices in writing and doing it the old-fashioned way too, even if you do send an email, because they can always say, I never got the email, right? And if it's something important enough, send it by registered mail, return receipt requested, so you can prove that they got it, okay? Now, communicate with your landlord verbally and in writing if necessary, as we said. And then contact Longwood. Contact them to discuss your rights if you have any problems, and they can intervene for you, and they might be able to help you. No promises can be made, but I'm sure they will do the best they can, and I've heard they do a great job with that. Contact the town of Farmville officials if necessary. Or you can contact us. We can give you advice. You may or may not be eligible for services, but you will certainly be eligible to get advice from us at the very least. And sometimes we are able to take cases for students, but we can't take cases for every student at Longwood College, of course. And you might not be eligible, but you can certainly get lots of advice. And here is our statewide toll-free number. The main thing I would like you to remember is you can contact us after hours anytime you want. 24 hours a day, every day of the year, 365 days of the year at our website. And you see it there, www.vlas.org. So please use this. There is plenty of information and lots of handouts on the site. You can look through the housing situation. And I would just like to add a little comment that we also have navigators for anyone who needs health insurance and would like to sign up for it. You might even be eligible for free subsidies so that you don't have to pay hardly anything. We actually have navigators who can help you sign up for coverage through the Affordable Care Act. And you can find out lots of information about that on our website, as well as we have a brochure that I created, medical clinics for the uninsured, for those who need a place to go and do not have insurance. But our navigators would be glad to walk you through everything, okay? And have a wonderful renting experience, and good luck to all of you out there.
Thank you for watching our off-campus orientation video. We hope you have a wonderful year. If you have any questions throughout your time as a commuter student, please feel free to contact Residential and Commuter Life in Lancaster G13. Thank you.